In the heart of Los Angeles, where skyscrapers gleamed under the relentless California sun, Lauren Bennett, a 38-year-old real estate mogul, sat in her sleek office on the 32nd floor of a glass tower. Her desk was a battlefield of meticulously organized reports, each detailing the latest conquests in her $60 million real estate portfolio. Over the past 2 years, Lauren had closed 18 high-stakes property deals, from sprawling commercial complexes to luxury condos and ambitious development projects across the Golden State. Her knack for spotting undervalued assets and transforming them into cash flow machines was unmatched. Yet, to her family, especially her older sister, Jessica Parker, Lauren was still the little sister who didn't get money. Across the country in Manhattan, Jessica, 42, lived in a penthouse that screamed success. Her Instagram was a curated gallery of power lunches, designer handbags, and cryptic captions like, "Sealing another 7-figure deal in the city that never sleeps." At family gatherings, Jessica held court, weaving tales of her financial prowess, her Wall Street connections, and her supposed real estate ventures. Ever since she aced a finance exam in college, the Parker family had crowned her their golden child, the one destined to dominate the world of money. Lauren, meanwhile, was expected to sit quietly, nod politely, and soak up Jessica's wisdom. Jessica's the one who understands finance, their mother, Diane, would say, her voice dripping with pride. You should learn from her. Lauren never argued. She let the family narrative stand, choosing instead to build her empire in the shadows. Even when her portfolio hit $30 million, she mentioned it only in passing, quickly steering conversations elsewhere. But one person saw through the facade, her grandmother, Evelyn, a trailblazing real estate broker from Nevada in the 1960s. At 85, Evelyn still tracked market trends on her iPad, her sharp mind cataloging interest rates and property values with the precision of a Wall Street analyst. Real wealth doesn't shout, she told Lauren during a quiet moment at a family Christmas dinner. As Jessica boasted about her latest deal. But when your time comes, claim your place, not with words, but with results. Those words burned in Lauren's heart, fueling her relentless drive. One crisp April morning at 6:15 a.m., Lauren's phone buzzed with an email from her business partner, Ryan Carter. The subject line read, "Prime Acquisition Opportunity, Manhattan Residential Tower." Her pulse quickened as she opened the investment report. The building was a gem in a coveted neighborhood, but its financials were a mess. Revenue down 45% in 8 months. Plagued by tenant defaults and mismanagement. Lauren had been tracking similar patterns in Manhattan's luxury rental market: late payments, partial payments, tenants stretched thin by the city's unforgiving cost of living. At a real estate summit in Miami, she'd heard whispers of rising defaults in high-end apartments, a red flag for savvy investors like her. But as she scanned the tenant list, one name stopped her cold: Jessica Parker. Unit 27C. Lauren blinked, rechecking the address. There was no mistake. Jessica, the sister who lectured her about financial strategy at every family dinner, was a tenant in this struggling building. Not an owner, not an investor, just a renter. And one who was $10 in arrears, teetering on the edge of eviction. The manager's notes were damning: 2 months of late payments, 3 months of partial payments, and excuses like, waiting on a big bonus next week. Lauren sat back, the weight of the discovery settling in. Jessica, the family's financial prodigy, was living a lie, projecting success while drowning in debt. Lauren's mind raced. The building was a goldmine despite its current woes. With proper management, it could be a cornerstone of her portfolio. But the personal stakes were undeniable. She pictured Jessica at the last Thanksgiving, smirking as she said, "All you do is buy buildings and collect rent, right? That's not real investing." The memory stung, but Lauren pushed it aside. She was a professional first. This wasn't about settling scores, it was about seizing opportunity. She met Ryan at his office later that day, laying out the situation with clinical precision. "One of the tenants is my sister," she said, her voice steady. "She's in default, and I've heard her lecture me about money my whole life. But the building's a steal at $15 million. The location's prime. And the numbers work long-term. Ryan leaned back, his expression unreadable. So, what's the play? Worth the investment? Lauren nodded. Absolutely. But I'll recuse myself from tenant dealings to avoid any conflict. I'll focus on strategy and valuation. Ryan agreed, promising to handle negotiations and document everything transparently. The deal moved fast. Lauren's market analysis, her signature blend of data and instinct, sealed the acquisition. By June, her firm owned the building for $15 million. A triumph she'd orchestrated from behind the scenes. Jessica, oblivious to the new landlord's identity, strutted into the tenant meeting in a tailored blazer. Her confidence unshaken. "This is perfect timing," she declared, loud enough for the room to hear. "The new owners don't know it yet, but they've got Manhattan's most reliable tenant." Lauren, watching from a coffee shop across the street, felt no anger, only a quiet resolve. Jessica was clinging to a fantasy. But the truth was closing in. The stage was set for Thanksgiving at Evelyn's sprawling ranch house in Scottsdale, Arizona. The air would soon carry the scent of roasted turkey and Evelyn's famous pecan pie. But Lauren knew this year's dinner would be different. The family's carefully curated narrative, Jessica as the star, Lauren as the understudy, was about to unravel. And when it did, Lauren wouldn't need to raise her voice. Her results would speak louder than words ever could. The Arizona sun dipped low, painting the Scottsdale sky in hues of amber and crimson as Lauren Bennett pulled into the driveway of her grandmother Evelyn's sprawling ranch house. Thanksgiving at Evelyn's was a tradition steeped in warmth, roasted turkey, freshly baked cornbread, and the legendary scent of her pecan pie wafting through the single-story home. But tonight, Lauren knew, the air would carry more than the aroma of a holiday feast. It would crackle with the weight of truth. Inside, the Parker family buzzed with familiar energy. Diane, their mother, fussed over the table settings, while their father, Richard, carved the turkey with practiced precision. Jessica Parker, as always, commanded the living room, a glass of Pinot Noir in hand, her voice cutting through the chatter. "Smart money doesn't chase trends, it sets them," she declared, her designer scarf catching the light. "You've got to read the market, predict the shifts, and cash out at the peak." Diane nodded, beaming with pride. Richard murmured, "Jessica's always been sharp." Lauren, slipping into the room with a quiet smile, felt the familiar sting of being invisible in her sister's shadow. Jessica's eyes landed on Lauren, and her smile turned patronizing. "There's our little bookkeeper," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Lauren's great with the small stuff, tracking receipts, balancing budgets. But real finance? That's a different league." The room chuckled, not because it was clever, but because Jessica's performance was a family ritual. Investing, markets, real estate trusts. You need a certain kind of mind for that. She continued, shaking her head. "It's just not Lauren's world." Diane's awkward smile signaled agreement, and Richard nodded absently. Lauren set down her glass, her expression calm but her pulse quickening. She'd heard this script before. But tonight, the narrative was about to shatter. Dinner began, and Jessica steered every topic: mortgage rates, stock markets, Manhattan real estate, into a monologue about her supposed genius. Lauren listened, her fork poised, each word ringing hollow now that she knew the truth. Jessica was $10 behind on rent. Her success, a fragile facade. Then, Jessica turned to her, eyes glinting with confidence. "Lauren, did you hear? Big firms are snapping up Manhattan buildings. That's smart money spotting value. You wouldn't get it. Your world's just buying houses and collecting rent. Right?" She laughed, raising her glass. "That's like a piggy bank. Not investing." The room stilled. Lauren set her fork down deliberately. "Funny you mention Manhattan real estate," she said, her voice steady but sharp. "Maybe you should ask your new landlord about it." Jessica's laugh was a touch too loud. "Oh, I know all about it. They bought my building, and I negotiated a killer lease renewal. Smart tenants know how to play the game." She leaned back, smug, spinning a tale of a deal she'd never made. "I told them, if you want this building to thrive, you need tenants like me. They got it. Rent freezes. Flexible payments. Long-term contracts. That's how you negotiate. The lie hung in the air. Bold and brittle. Evelyn, seated at the head of the table, folded her napkin with deliberate care. Her eyes, sharp as ever at 85, lifted to meet Jessica's. That's an interesting story, Jessica, she said, her voice calm but cutting. But if I'm not mistaken, the person who bought your building for $15 million wasn't some random firm. It was Lauren. The room froze. Jessica's glass hovered mid-air, her smile faltering. What? She said, her voice cracking. That's impossible. Evelyn's gaze didn't waver. I asked Lauren about her recent deals. She was honest. She bought your building. Jessica, you're not negotiating anything, you're just a tenant. Diane's wineglass clinked against the table, her eyes darting between her daughters. Richard leaned forward, brow furrowed. Wait, Lauren bought the building? Lauren met Jessica's stunned gaze. It's true, she said evenly. I manage a $60 million real estate portfolio. I identified your building as a prime investment. Due to the conflict of interest, I stepped back from tenant dealings. But I'm the one who made the deal happen. She paused, letting the words sink in. And Jessica, you're $10 behind on rent. An eviction notice was set to go out in 30 days. Diane gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. $10 in debt? Richard's face paled. Jessica, is this true? Jessica's mouth opened, then closed, her confidence crumbling. Lauren continued, her tone gentle but unflinching. The building's revenue was down 45% because of tenants like you. Late payments. Partial payments. Excuses about big bonuses that never came. I also checked that article you always mention. The one calling you a top sales leader. It was paid content, not a real ranking. The silence was deafening, broken only by the faint clink of a spoon against a plate. Jessica's eyes glistened, her voice barely a whisper. I'm not a failure, she said, more to herself than the room. I'm smart. Lauren softened. You are smart, Jessica, but smart and pretending are two different things. Because I bought the building. You got a revised payment plan instead of an eviction notice. It's a chance to start over. Jessica stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Without a word, she walked out to Evelyn's backyard patio, the glass door sliding shut behind her. The family sat in stunned silence, the weight of decades of assumptions collapsing. Lauren rose, following her sister. No one stopped her. On the patio, Jessica sat on a wooden swing, arms wrapped tightly around herself, staring at the desert horizon. Lauren approached slowly, sitting at the far end to give her space. Minutes passed in silence before Jessica spoke, her voice raw. Do you know what hurts the most? Not just being exposed, but realizing I believed my own lies. Lauren didn't interrupt. Jessica continued. I thought I had it all, the Manhattan dream. The perfect image. But I was drowning, maxing out credit cards to keep up appearances. Dreading every bank alert. Lauren nodded. I didn't want to expose you, Jessica, but I couldn't ignore the truth, or the investment. That building's a goldmine with the right management. Jessica turned, her eyes searching. You're incredible, Lauren. So successful it's hard to wrap my head around. Lauren's voice was quiet but firm. It's not about being better than you. I just didn't need to broadcast every win. You built a story you couldn't live up to. Jessica's shoulders sagged. I was good once. My commissions were real. My clients respected me. But the market changed, and I couldn't keep up. I got louder to drown out the fear that I was a fraud. Tears welled, but she didn't wipe them away. I'm sorry, Lauren, for making you feel small. Lauren's chest tightened, but she smiled. I'm not your little bookkeeper anymore. And you don't have to fail for me to succeed. They sat in silence, the desert sky deepening to purple. For the first time, they weren't rivals but sisters. Raw and real. 3 weeks later, Jessica emailed Lauren. Subject: Lease Adjustment Agreement, Jessica Parker. Attached was a signed payment plan and a note. Thank you for the second chance. I'm ready to be a better tenant, and a better sister. Back in Los Angeles, Lauren leaned back in her office chair, a weight lifting from her shoulders. On the next family video call, Jessica didn't dominate. She asked thoughtful questions about real estate trends, listening as Lauren explained market analysis. Richard called Lauren afterward, his voice earnest. "Tell me about your business. In detail." For an hour, Lauren walked him through her world, valuations, risks, returns. When she finished, he said, "You're brilliant, Lauren. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." Diane, too, shifted. In the family group chat, she posted, "Lauren's speaking at the Miami Real Estate Summit next month. Who's coming to cheer her on?" When Jessica flew to LA to meet a debt counselor Lauren recommended, she stepped off the plane with a single duffel bag. No designer luggage in sight. "Ready to learn from the real estate queen?" she teased. Her smile genuine. Lauren grinned. "Only if you zip it and listen." Jessica laughed, promising to treat her to lunch, when I can afford it again. At the Miami summit, the Parker family sat front row. Richard took notes. Diane whispered proudly to friends. And Jessica asked a sharp question during the Q&A. Her first real step into Lauren's world. The sisters weren't competitors anymore, they were allies. Lifting each other up. A new story had begun. One where no one had to dim their light for another to shine.